There are death portents in every country, and in endless variety. In Wales these portents assume distinct and striking individualities, in great number and with clearly defined attributes. The banshee has no corresponding feature in Scandinavian, Teutonic, or classic mythology, and belongs entirely to the Celts. The Welsh have the banshee in its most blood-curdling form under the name of the Gwrach y Rhibyn. They have also the dogs of hell and dogs of the sky, the corpse candle, the Goblin Funeral, and many others, all of them death portents. A frightful figure among Welsh apparitions is the Gwrach y Rhibyn, whose crowning distinction is its prodigious ugliness. The feminine pronoun is generally used in speaking of this goblin, which unlike the majority of its kind, is supposed to be a female. The spectre is a hideous being with disheveled hair, long black teeth, long, lank, withered arms, leathern wings, and a cadaverous appearance. In the stillness of night it comes and flaps its wings against the window, uttering at the same time a blood-curdling howl, and calling by name on the person who is to die, in a lengthened dying tone. The effect of its shriek or howl is indescribably terrific, and its sight blasting to the eyes of the beholder. It is always an omen of death, though its warning cry is heard under varying circumstances. Sometimes it appears in the mist on the mountainside, or at crossroads, or by a piece of water which it splashes with its hands. The close resemblance of this goblin to the Irish banshee will be at once perceived. The same superstition is found among other peoples of Celtic origin. Sir Walter Scott mentions it among the Highlands of Scotland. It is not traced among other than Celtic peoples distinctly, but its association with the primeval mythology is doubtless to be found in the same direction with many other death omens, to wit, the wind god Hermes. The frightful ugliness of the Gwrach y Rhibyn is a consistent feature of the superstition, in both its forms. It recalls the Black Maiden who came to Caerleon and liberated Peredur. Blacker were her face and her 2 hands than the blackest iron covered with pitch, and her hue was not more frightful than her form. High cheeks had she, and a face lengthened downwards, and a short nose with distended nostrils. And one eye was of a piercing mottled grey, and the other was as black as jet, deep sunk in her head. And her teeth were long and yellow, more yellow were they than the flower of the broom. Of the Tulu, or Goblin Funeral, a death portent of wide prevalence in Wales, numberless stories are told. A funeral procession is seen passing down the road, and at the same time it is heard. It has no shadowy goblin aspect, but appears to be a real funeral. Examination shows its shadowy nature. Subsequently a real funeral passes the same way, and is recognized as the fulfillment of the omen. The Reverend Howell Prosser, 300 years ago curate of Aberystwyth, late one evening recorded that he saw a funeral procession going down the church lane. Supposing it to be the funeral of a man who had recently died in the upper part of his parish, yet wondering he had not been notified of the burial, he put on his band in order to perform his office over the dead, and hastened to meet the procession. But when he came to it he saw that it was composed of strangers, whom he had never seen before. Nevertheless, he laid his hand on the bier, to help carry the corpse, when instantly the whole vanished, and he was alone, but in his hand he found the skull of a dead horse. The death portent called Corn Onion, or Dogs of Hell, is a pack of hounds which howl through the air with a voice frightfully disproportionate to their size, full of a wild sort of lamentation. A peculiarity of these creatures is that the nearer they are to a person the less loud their voice sounds, and the farther off they are the louder is their cry. Sometimes a voice like that of a great hound is heard sounding among them, a deep hollow voice, as if it were the voice of a monstrous bloodhound. Although terrible to hear, and certain portents of death, they are in themselves harmless. The Corn Onion are sometimes held to be the hell-hounds which hunt through the air the soul of the wicked man, the instant it quits the body, a truly terrific idea to the vulgar mind. Perhaps the most picturesque of the several death omens popular in Wales is the Canwyll Corph, or corpse candle. It is also the most extensively believed in at the present day, such as it is. Its details are varied and extremely interesting. The idea of a goblin in the form of a lighted tallow candle is ludicrous enough, at first sight, but the superstition grows more and more grim and less risible the better one becomes acquainted with it. The corpse candle is always and invariably a death warning. It sometimes appears as a stately flambeau, stalking along unsupported, burning with a ghastly blue flame. Sometimes it is a plain tallow dip in the hand of a ghost, and when the ghost is seen distinctly it is recognized as the ghost of some person yet living, who will now soon die. Sometimes the goblin is a light which issues from a person's mouth or nostrils. According to the belief of some sections, the size of the candle indicates the age of the person who is about to die, being large when it is a full-grown person whose death is foretold, small when it is a child, still smaller when an infant. Where two candles together are seen, one of which is large and the other small, it is a mother and child who are to die. When the flame is white, the doomed person is a woman, when red, a man.